Korean classroom is more quiet, and it's rather, I think, in a way, it's rigid.
Right.
It's sort of like the lecturer or teacher just teaching one way study, I guess. It's not usually two ways. Maybe different these days, but in the old days, it was like, yeah.
Gon, what do you think? What do you have to say about that?
Right. I mean, in this question, I think I need to give you some kind of practical answer.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, when I was in the United States, my son attended to elementary school. He was, I remember, he was a second grader at the
Mm-hmm.
time. So during that period, I remember that my son was almost always trying to prepare for some kind of presentations and projects. You know, so I think that point, uh, that thing might be the difference between our classrooms and American classrooms. First of all, I mean, in Korean classrooms, Korean students are more exam focused. You know.
Yeah, I
That,
agree.
yeah.
More exams, and you're saying, like you just said, your children are, or when you lived in the United States for a while, they were doing a lot more projects than you do in Korea, and having to present presentations. I definitely think that that's a big difference between Korean education system and American, or in the United States at least, where we have more questions, discussion-based lectures, classes, and the like. And in Korea, you have lecture where the teacher usually teaches just to the class, right?
Sarah, I guess you certainly attended the Korean classrooms. What did you feel? What was your feeling?
My feeling
Yes.
in like Korean classrooms.
Yes.
Well, honestly, it's difficult to get students to talk.
Okay.
Yeah, even if it's something that they're interested in. Just from my experience, and I mean many other teachers, and I think a lot of people would agree that it's kind of the culture of the students have learned to only listen and not to say their opinion, right? And that if they do, the teacher might scold them, and maybe that they lose face, where to maybe be embarrassed to not know an answer or to not know something. I think maybe in the Korean classroom, you're expected to just know, and if you ask questions, it's a sign of weakness, and that you don't really know. But I don't know. Would you agree with me or disagree with me? What are your opinions from what I just said?
It was because of the language, or do you think it was just attitude, or the way been told?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it might just be learning English. I mean, learning the English language is not easy, and learning a language in general and being confident enough to speak in class can be
Right.
difficult for many students. But even students that I'd see, they would not be speaking very much even in their Korean classrooms.
I see.
So I feel like this is very common, especially if you read the article. They talk a lot about this, about in the Korean universities, students didn't really have much opportunity to discuss and to talk. So this kind of leads to the second question. So let me ask you guys this. Do you think there are many opportunities for discussion in Korean classrooms? Like, Gon, you were saying that your child had many opportunities to speak and discuss. Do you think that this is available in the Korean classroom?
Basically, I would say that we don't have many opportunities for students to discuss. But as a teacher, as a professor in a university, I gave many opportunities for students to discuss. But unfortunately, although I gave many opportunities for them, but they didn't want to discuss. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So anyhow, basically, we don't have much chances for students to discuss in general, in
Yeah.
general classrooms of Korean university or high school, middle school.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they were saying in the article there, that students don't have the opportunities to. And Wuhan, do you have anything to say to that based on maybe what you read in the article? Um,
I think it's like a tradition, because the teacher was he or she learned that way. So when they teach, they use the same method, I guess. So, but I think the second article is perfect. I think it was one of the students was commented on the article, saying that we are not grown up with the habit of discussing, like uh, like at home. You're sort of like discouraged talking to your parents. Usually, the parents is more like I don't know. It's because of Confucianism. Well, it's more like a hierarchy in Korea. I think seniority is kind of in a way is hindered some discussion. So young people is like supposed not talk back to the older people. Those are habits. I think is in a way a it's obstacle to for the discussion. I think free discussion in the class.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Gon, what do you think about what Wuhan was saying with Confucianism and the influence of culture and how you should behave? Do you think that has a lot to do with the lack of discussion?
I'm glad to hear Mr. Young's opinion. So I also think that the Confucianism is directly associated with the reason why Korean students lack discussion generally in the classroom. According to Confucianism, the younger people cannot discuss with senior persons, basically. Yeah, it's really difficult.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, Confucianism might be one reason why Korean classroom lack discussion. I mean, this is pretty cultural and even philosophical in a way. I mean, this is kind of a social tendency, right? The lacking discussion.
Yeah, exactly. The lack in discussion is lacking, you know, kind of the difference in the kind of clashing that we're starting to see just because the world is becoming more Western, or I guess more modern in some regards. And so, um, you know, do you guys think, in your opinion, that it's important to incorporate more discussion into the class, even though it's difficult to do? Do you feel that something that should be done and that it's important?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, generally in a classroom, we need a decent discussion. You know? I mean, as for me, I like discussion so much. Although I had a very stubborn father, but I don't know why I like discussion so much since I was a kid. Still, I like discussion so much. Even I want to discuss something with my son.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like discussion so
Well,
much. I mean, if we can discuss generally in our classrooms more, probably we need to be more creative, almost for almost every academic field. So in this case, we need to remember that we don't have any person who got the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Uh, Wuhan, I know that you talked a little bit about that second article you read. What was some suggestions that the student was giving about how to kind of deal with this problem and how to incorporate more discussion in classes?
I think I think he suggests that we have to, I mean, probably children has to be built up habit or yeah, or like an attitude to discuss anything or everything. And it just while I was reading the article, some thought hit me, saying that because we in the school in Korea, usually they teach is wrong or right. There's no between. It's like the math questions. So when people, I mean, student was asked about the opinion, they always worry about whether their opinion is wrong or right.
Yeah.
But I usually saying that it should be scaled rather than just 1 or 0. It should be scaled to 1 to 10. So it could be right, or it could be wrong, or it could be between, and it could be a little bit right or a little bit wrong, something like that. So I think children have to learn diversity. I mean, probably teacher has to first of all, teachers they have to teach diversity to children, I guess.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I think at this point, I think I need to tell you my prepared answers for our
Okay.
topic.
Yeah. Please do. Please do. Tell us.
Yeah. Like he said, Mr. Zhang, I totally agree with his idea. I mean, he emphasized the importance of diversity, right? But think about examination. I mean, if you want to get a good grade for a certain examination, in a way, I think we don't have to be flexible. You don't have to have some kind of open mind if you want a good grade for a certain examination, right? Because especially in Korean examination, we almost need to have one answer, one specific answer for one specific question, which is a little problematic, right? Which is a little sad, in fact. So that tendency is also associated with, Korean, society, even tradition. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, so examination might be the prior reason why Korean university students lack discussion, because examination is so crucial in our society. So if you want to have a good score for a certain examination, you don't have to be so open.
Yeah.
Even question. Did I make sense? Hard.
Yeah, good. I mean, true, very true point. And this shows in the video, Wuhan, were you able to watch that YouTube link video?
Yes, I
That
did.
discussion, and Gon, if you have a chance to watch it afterwards, please do and look at the questions, because that video really, I mean, I'm sure this is normal for you because you've seen lectures like this a lot, but it's an American giving a lecture. Well, she wants to have a discussion with a group of high school students, and she tries to, but it's not very successful. And I think there were 1 or 2 brave students that said something, but she was asking all about their opinions on things. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? How should we change this? How should we do that? And no one responded. And I think a lot of times in our culture, it appears that they're too scared to respond. But in reality, like based on what you just said, I think maybe it's just more that they never have learned how. It's never taught. They've always been studying for exam, and they're studying for a specific answer and do not know how to speak their opinions always. What do you guys think? Do you agree with that, or what are your thoughts?
Well, as I mentioned, I think there were two barriers. Like one is, like a habit, or they were not trained. The other one was, I think, was the language itself. There was one
Yeah.
a girl who was very fluent, and she speaks many times.
Yeah.
Other students was, I think they are capable of hearing, but the speaking was another matter, I guess. But
Yeah.
certainly they are not trained. I think they should be people. I mean, the children, they should be trained with brainstorming stuff. Like you don't care it's right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. You're just dumping it. Yeah. And as Mr. Kwon mentioned about examination, that's real trouble, I guess. So maybe we just have to eliminate all those multiple choice, the examination, at least elementary school or something like that. So they could be more diverse, and they could, speak out their opinions.
But in
Yeah.
that point of view, I have kind of slightly different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys mentioned that the training for discussion could be also very important, right? But
Mhm.
I don't totally agree with that idea because, I think it's mainly associated with a social trend, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
As for me, I don't think I was so trained in terms of discussion, but still I like discussion so much.
Yeah.
So if we could change that kind of social tendency or atmosphere,
Mhm.
probably a future university student could discuss more effectively than we used to do.
Yeah, I think it's certainly changing, and I think it's getting better. But what I'm saying was training. I experienced when uh, I was I was hired, like when I was pretty old. It was just 10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and the company put me in a training with the newcomers, and I was old, but they taught me like brainstorming, how we solve the problems.
Ah, okay.
It was kind of fun,
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying it's training. I think it's the same thing. You just develop some atmosphere, and the people to speak out freely. That's why I
Right.
put it training. But yeah,
I
could be
mean, it's a
trend.
kind of a chicken and egg, situation. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Some training.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, training and atmosphere are both are very important in
Mm-hmm.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, and uh,
You know what? I think the everything could be come to an end like with competition. I mean, in Korean, the Korea's density is so high. The competition is we are born with it, and it's scoring actually is because of competition. And the one problem with it is the this examination, I guess. Uh, Everybody, I mean, we even the goal of life is not diverse because of examination, because of this competition, I guess.
Right.
yeah,
Uh,
that's a good point. I
and
mean,
also,
way more
yeah, if you,
competitive.
Mhm.
What was
sorry,
that?
if possible, let me touch slightly some kind of funny and at the same time, new approach a
Oh,
little bit.
okay,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Let's see. I mean, discussion. Let's see. In Korea, when you want to discuss something with other people, it might look like you want to argue with the person. You want to fight with other person. You know what I'm saying?
Because of the hierarchy system.
Good
Yeah,
point.
Ah,
partly because of that, but simultaneously, to Korean, it looked like you want to fight with somebody.
mhm.
Mhm. Right.
It could be some kind of cultural difference.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
we
think
are.
that is very true. Very big cultural difference.
So during the process, do I have to say process or procedure? During the,
During the process of what?
during the process of discussion,
Ah,
naturally.
yeah. Or just during the discussion.
But anyhow, let me finish this sentence. During the process of possible discussion, we
Mhm.
Koreans naturally have a kind of a tendency to be ended up fighting each other.
Yeah, they have a tendency to start arguing instead of discussing.
I mean, literally and physically, we sometimes fight. You know,
Yeah. Well,
during the
I mean, that's not just Korea. It happened here too. Discussions can lead to arguments, but I think they're trying to teach more discussion skills in our education system. So we're learned to ask more questions, learn to question things more, and not um, think that there's just one way, and just to be a little more open to other people's opinions.
Right.
Uh, so
let me
maybe we have a little less of that, but we do definitely still have uh, arguments that come from discussion as well.
let me just sum what I said just right before. I mean, we
Okay.
Koreans have we don't have we Korean don't have clear boundary between discussion and arguing. That's what I wanted to say. Even discussion and fighting sometimes.
Really? So do you have do you have different words for discussion and argue? Like,
Yeah.
you
Although we
do.
have different terminology, but I mean, at least you look like you want to fight
Ah,
because when I give you a question, you answer me back, and then I give you another answer, another question, you answer me again. You know,
ah,
likewise, it looks like a fighting procedure.
You
yeah.
just
With
putting up, right? Yeah. Well, I totally agree with you, and I think it's because we are not trained from childhood. If we build up tolerance, probably we could talk like American without, it's kind of amazing for me to Americans. They dispute without raising voices,
right.
you know. But in
Yeah.
Korea, usually end up with fist fighting. So there's a big difference, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And myself, I mean, I cannot stand some, you know, uh, opinion from different from me. I mean, the other
Yeah.
thing is that media these days is teaching us one or the other. There's no between, they say. I think that's really bad.
Yeah, because there's a lot of what we call gray area, things
Right.
are not just black and white. Every
Mhm.
situation is a little different. Every student is a little different. Every person, everything is. So there's so much to talk about, so much to analyze and discuss. And um, it's interesting. I know in the article they also mentioned that students don't really have the opportunity to discuss their concerns outside the classroom. So, like with advisors or professors. I mean, in our culture, usually in university and in graduate school, you can go to your professor and you go to them at business hours and you can talk to them and be very open. Well, I don't know about how open. In American culture, we're not. There's still a little bit of that professor. I don't want to say hierarchy, but it's like you don't have a very, very strong connection the way that you would in maybe Europe. In Europe, you can have you can go out for drinks, for example, with your professor. You could really get to know your professor. You might have a relationship, like a friendship, with your professor, and that's quite common. But in our culture, that's kind of we that's not really acceptable. But if we look at Europe and kind of based on what we talked about last week, their education system, everything is kind of more advance, they all discuss more about things, and they have stronger relationships, and they have stronger communication because of that. So it's kind of interesting to see how our countries are different in terms of communication and the like. What do you guys think? In Korea, do you think that students have much of a chance or opportunity to discuss with their professors or advisors about their education or about their concerns, maybe to get help from in school and things like that?
Like I said, generally there are not so many opportunities for students to discuss, even with their professors.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it depends on the professors, in my opinion. But also, as I told you before, although I could give the students more opportunities to discuss, students don't want to discuss matters with their professors. That's the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, kind of to sum this all up, what Wuhan was saying a little while ago about how that student who wrote the second article kind of responded to this dilemma and said, you can't fix it from the, high school, university level. It needs to start primary level. The whole system would need to be accepting of it. So once they get to be that age, they learn and they are comfortable speaking about their opinions and feelings and the like. So definitely something. It sounds like from the article that it's something they're trying to implement. Wuhan, do you know much, or do you remember much about what they said about how they plan to implement this and change the program a little?
I heard that these days the professors, they try to develop a new way of teaching. Like I think it's reverse teaching or something like that. So everything like lectures or material study has to be done at home, and at school you work together, like solving problems or working together with professor. There are some professors, I think, they try to do something different these days. And I also about that, the dialogue between the students and professors, I think it's changing. I think it's much open than in my era. But I think it also depends on the students. They are kind of shy. They are not trained from when they were a child. So there are students who are very, very outgoing, aggressive, that they come to professors very, I think, often and freely.
Yeah. Well, I think this has been a wonderful discussion today. You are about out of time, so we need to kind of wrap up. Is there any last-minute remarks anyone wants to say before we end today?
Actually, I recalled something when I listened to you were saying, Sarah. What's the meaning of rambling?
Rambling. To ramble, to talk a lot and continue to talk about something. So, right now I was rambling. I was talking and talking and talking, and sometimes in a discussion, one person might ramble too much, and then no one else can talk. So, rambling is kind of talking, but saying the same thing over and over again. Nothing new. You're not thinking new thoughts, really. You're just saying your same thing and not willing to change your opinion.
During our conversation, I was able to recall some episode when I was in the United States. At that time, I was in a university. Actually, it was Boston University. So in a classroom, I kept asking something to a professor at the time. But finally, the professor said to me that you are rambling. So I was a little frustrated, but I don't think I was rambling at the time in that classroom. I thought at least I was trying to ask many questions about a certain matter in different angle, but
Yeah.
finally the professor said to me, "It's a rambling." What do you think
So
about this?
it could have been, I don't know, I wasn't there, but it could have been several things. I mean, it could have been the professor felt like you kept saying the same thing, maybe in different words, and he was saying you're not listening, you're not trying to change your perspective. And or maybe every professor is different. Maybe he just got annoyed after a while because he thought you are not thinking differently. So he just said, "You're rambling. You're not thinking. You're not changing your."
I mean, in that point of view, I think humans are human, regardless of their backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes people are the same,
Yeah.
although they came from a different background. So probably at that time, the professor thought that I was kind of, I I looked like a little, arrogant a little bit. I was challenging a little bit to the professor.
Well, and some professors don't like that. I had grad school. I had professors like that too. I mean, you always have people that don't. Some people are more accepting and wanting to discuss, and some are very much, like one of my professors was Russian, and so he was from Russia, so he had, because of his cultural background, well, that's the answer. And I want to discuss. I say, well, why couldn't it be this or that? There's always that kind of discussion you might want to have, but not everyone and from every culture wants to have discussion like that. So it's really depends. But anyways, I have to end this now because I have another class with another student. But thank you so much, both of you, for attending once again. I hope to create some classes for next week. I've been really busy though, and I haven't been able to figure out what they are quite yet. But I will be sending out an email later in the week and letting you guys know. So if you want to look for next week, that would be wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to another discussion.
Sure, yeah.
Well, wonderful. I look forward to having more discussions with you all in the future. Okay, well, have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.